Everyone heads up, we are now going live on YouTube. And again, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Angela Carter. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the program manager for Measure 110. I will be assisting our Tri-Chair Blue today in facilitation for today's meeting. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Any member of the public who would like to submit public comments or get on our interested parties email list can reach out to oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. You can find that email address and a lot more information about the council on our Measure 110 OAC website. For more information, or if you need any support with community engagement, please reach out to that OHA Measure 110 email or to Jessica Carroll. OAC members, my apologies, have requested that OHA staff who are present in the meeting space and anyone from the press who is with us today, please introduce yourself in the chat. If you would be so kind to share your role with the agency, what subject matter expertise you may have, and if you are a member of the press, if you would please share what publication you are coming from. Thank you. All right. Looks like the room is filling up. We have quite a busy agenda for today. It's very exciting. We have a lot of applications all the way through the process and ready for your approval. So before we get started on taking attendance, I'm just going to do a quick head count and make sure that we have a good number of folks. All right, it looks like we have 12 folks at this point. Let's wait one more minute to see if we get any more folks. Oh, looks like we have. That's great. Walter, when you are ready, would you mind going through attendance for us?
Yes, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Just please let me know by saying here after I call your name, please. All right. Amy.
Here.
Hi, Amy. Blue.
Here.
Hi, Blue. Carlos. Caroline.
Here.
Hi, Caroline. Dharma. Okay. Aowen. Okay. Henry.
Here.
Hey. Hubert. All right. Karen.
Here.
Hi. Keisha. Okay. Lana. Leticia.
I'm here.
Right. Melinda.
I'm here too. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm just doing some other stuff too.
All right. Thanks, Hubert.
Okay,
Melinda.
hold on,
All right. Melinda. Morgan.
Here.
All right. Nicole. Onisha.
Here.
Hey. Ron.
Here.
All right, Sabrina. All right, and Zeb. Okay. Steve.
I'm sorry.
Steve is here.
Here.
All right, and then Keisha. I did see Keisha.
I'm here.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, gotcha. Now somebody said in the chat, was that Aowen that said that? Okay, all right. So we've got 12 voting members and 1 non-voting member, so 13. So we have not reached quorum yet.
Okay. So for the purposes of executive session, that is okay. So again, welcome everyone. If you're just arriving, today I will be assisting Blue Valentine, one of our tray chairs, in facilitating the meeting. We have a pretty busy agenda for today. And at this point, I will pass over to you, Blue. I believe that the updated agenda is in your inbox, as well as some information on executive session.
Yes, thank you. So I'm just gonna run through real quick. We have executive session today until about 2:15, and in the nicest possible way, I'm gonna try and really try to keep us on track if possible for that time. And then when we come back into public session, Angela will be going over some OHA updates and announcements. We'll be discussing amending the rules with Angela and Allison. And then we're going to speak with OHA discussing unallocated funds being used for housing and harm reduction, and that will be Steve. And then Steve is also going to take us through quite a few counties to approve grant agreements for today. And then we're going to discuss the contract update on Lines for Life. Okay, so
Blue, this is
Yeah.
Caroline.
Hi.
Hi, I'm about 5 minutes or 3 minutes to my office. So you might have to let me in again. So just
Okay.
someone pay attention when I sign in again.
Sounds
Okay.
good. All right, we'll
Thank
see you soon.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open the executive session. So the Oversight and Accountability Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602 F and H. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to the live stream and resume the public portion of today's meeting. Okay.
Real quick before we go into executive session, thank you, Blue. We just need to talk about the fact that we need to keep executive session to questions. Angela?
I was just dropping something into the chat. So overall, just to let everyone know, we don't record executive session for the purposes of client attorney privacy. We do take notes, so we will have minutes. If anyone from the media is looking for those minutes, then you're welcome to reach out and we can get those to you. As far as executive session goes, the purpose of executive session is to receive information on any legal concerns that the council may be faced with and to ask questions about those legal concerns. It's not a space where we are able to do any deliberation or suggest any ideas for how to move forward. It really is just a place to ask questions about legal concerns. Just wanting to put that out there to make sure that everyone is on the same page. All right.
All right. And
Believe-
we're going to go ahead and add everyone into the breakout room. It's just going to take a quick second. Oh, maybe it was faster than that. All right.
All right. See you all in there.
Jessica, you want to hang back and catch the
Yep.
waiting room person? Okay,
Yep, I got it.
thanks.
Hey, yo, you just have to, yeah, there we go. People are, okay. Hey, Britt, are we live still? Oh, if you could do that, because we're gonna, think I have somebody in the waiting room. I'm not sure if they're media. Yeah. Thank you. Just let me know.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We will be taking a 10-minute break and then returning to the open session of today's Oversight and Accountability Council meeting at 2:15. See you all soon. Hello, folks. This is our 1 minute till go time call. When you are ready, please come on back into the room. We can get started with the rest of our agenda for today.
Trying to eat.
Eating is very important. Please do.
How are you?
Doing okay.
Nice.
Happy Wednesday. How was your relocation? Are you doing okay in your new spot?
Yes. As far as work goes, I enjoy it here.
Good.
I'm becoming more fluent with my Spanish.
Awesome.
I am the housing part is I really have until like the end of July to figure out where exactly will be more of my permanent. I just staying with a friend while they sell the house, and instead of trying to figure out where I was going to live at in the last moment, so
Makes sense.
I will figure it out.
I wish you very good luck in finding the right place.
The right thing's going to happen at the right time. I just do the work.
Absolutely. All right. As soon as our facilitator Blue is ready, we can begin the next set of discussion points. Hey, Blue.
Hi. Okay. So next we're going to have Angela discussing some OHA updates and announcements. I'll turn it back to you, Angela.
Okay, thank you. So in a moment, I'll go through a review of what we have been up to here at OHA in the last week. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to bring to the group that the media subcommittee will be reconvening here shortly. And if you have an interest in being on the media subcommittee, please send me an email so that I can add you to that list of contacts and we can begin planning out when your next meeting will occur. So just let me know, send me an email, I'll put you on the list and we'll send out an invitation for that meeting shortly. I also wanted to make a request. So in the Chapter 944 rules and in the RFGA, the council has requested a set of policies from each of the burn entities that would outline the 11 different areas that are in the rules if you'd like to look to those for reference. We are building the template for those policies right now. And this is not so much a request for a subcommittee, but we are hoping to get some volunteers to provide us review and feedback on that set of template policies. We wouldn't be meeting in a subcommittee. It would be an email communication. So essentially, we are hoping for one person for each of the 11 policy areas. One person can take more than one policy area, but we want to keep the discussion to one person per area. So if you are interested in assisting with the review and providing feedback on those policies, would you also please send me an email and let me know what your interest is if you have specific policy areas that you would like to provide feedback on. Let me know what those are. And then as soon as those policies are finished with their first draft, we would send you out the section of the policies that you would be interested in reviewing. And we would welcome your feedback and any information that you would like to share so that we can make those policies better. So just send me an email. Let me know which of the policies you're interested in providing feedback on. It can be more than one, but we want to keep it to one person per policy. All right. That's it for announcements. I will now, what the time requirement is. That's a good question. Thank you. So these policy this template for the policies is not an exhaustive list of every single possible policy. It is more of a recommendation for the different areas of consideration for creating policies. And so it's not going to be, honestly, it's not going to be a huge lift. I imagine probably no more than at most two to 3 hours of review and providing feedback. And then after we get that review and feedback and integrate it into the template, we would then be bringing the entire template to the council for a review and approval. So just let us know if you're interested, and we will share information with you shortly. All right. Now I am going to share my screen and we can walk through what we've been up to at OHA in the last week. All right. So as you remember, at this point, our subcommittees have made their final decisions on all awards for all counties. And so we've been moving forward with getting those counties approved, building their grant agreements, making sure that we have all of the information, negotiations, and at this time, we now have finalized and signed grant agreements with Morrow, Harney, Gillum, Grant, Baker, Curry, Lake, Wheeler, Jefferson, and Sherman counties. So we've got quite a few counties already finalized, approved, and signed. We are still waiting to receive MOUs from some of these entities. Once those MOUs are in our hands and confirmed as received, that is when the funding can begin to go out for those counties. And so we are also continuing with our meetings with the approved approved organizations in each county. And we have provided an orientation packet for all of the applicants that has general information around Measure 110, the timeline for funding and other requirements around policy, data collection, and so on. The template for the grant agreement that they will be signing, the model MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, that those entities can use to connect with each other and make their agreements for how they're going to communicate and align with each other. We are providing facilitation and technical assistance to support our applicants, our awardees at this point, and helping them get set up with their electronic funds transfer so that they can have their funds deposited immediately into their account as soon as we receive their MOUs. All of those materials are provided in a packet by email and also reiterated in the welcome meeting. At this point, we have had quite a number of meetings with the counties. We're very close to being completely done with our welcome meetings. This week, we will be meeting with Malheur and Deschutes counties tomorrow. Lane County meeting is on Friday, and Multnomah County has been, all of the entities have been sent a survey to help welcome them and help them understand the negotiations process. We will be sending out a next steps email to those awardees in Multnomah County in the next week and organizing those meetings with them very shortly. We will also be working with the 9 federally recognized tribes and NARA to execute their intergovernmental and otherwise grant agreements for them. And then we will be complete with the first round of county meetings. And that's when it gets fun. The burns begin, and we will be providing quite a bit of technical assistance to the awardees. Sorry, I keep saying applicants, they're awardees now. We'll be helping them with understanding billing Medicaid. We'll be helping them with understanding and carrying out reporting, the financial needs and reporting needs around finances that they are requested to do. And so the next meetings can go relatively quickly at this point. We are confirming that they are indeed a complete burn, and the funding requested is within the allocated amount per county. And then working on assisting them with the memorandums of understanding between the entities, and again, getting that EFT set up. So once we get approval for the final negotiated grant agreements from you all, and we get all of those MOUs in place, we can then disperse the funds to all of those awardees. And that is a wrap. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Thank you. I will stop sharing now.
And I don't know if somebody said this or not, but in the chat, Amy did say she was interested in helping with the the templates for all of those policies.
Okay, that's
I want to
marvelous.
make sure it didn't get lost
Thank
in
you.
there.
Just in case, Amy, would you mind still just sending over an email? Let me know. I'll collect all of the emails, and then once we have all of our folks set up, we can then share out the information on the next steps with that. Thank you. All right.
Amy, you have your hand up. I don't know if Angela could see that.
Well, I was at our farmers market, and most people know that so I'm on the committee, so I had a few questions come up, and you know, and some concerns around things, but not for this time. We'll discuss those later, I'm sure. But
Okay.
part of it was about the you know, when our county, the Umatilla County, and I'm like, I don't know that I can speak to that because I have nothing to do with that, is basically what I told them. But I said that I would bring their concerns to mention in the council so that maybe if they're watching, they could get an answer. And if not, that's fine too. I made no promises to that. One of their concerns was if the money was coming, like if the awardees were awarded a certain amount because they're doing housing and stuff, or they're doing, you know, creating the burn and creating housing, or, you know, expanding, if they were going to have to do it in pieces. That's where my question was posted in the chat, because I told them, you know, I'll put it out there, but I don't know nothing. So, so what they're wondering is this going to be the lot of dollars that they're awarded, if come in one chunk, or do they come in separate chunks through like quarterly or something like that? And the reason they were asking me was because of the planning, like to buy the building to make housing or whatever that is. I don't know what all they're doing. And the people were super nice, you know, and I was just like, hey, I'll mention it, gotta go. So, you know, I wanted to put that out there. And then one of the other things, when I was talking to the legal counsel that I go to and stuff, some of the concerns were, and and this is just for us to consider at a later time, maybe, is just the concern of the repetition of how many times you can get a violation and not have to abide by the recommendations of so if someone gets citation, like 5 citations, they've gone in and had 5 assessments, we know they have a problem, we know it's getting worse, it obviously is progressing, let's say, but there's no definition or no rule or no policy or anything to have them, like participate in any kind of intervention. And I wonder, is that something that we are allowed to do as a council, is say, hey, after about 5 of these, you might want to follow the recommendation, or is that something the courts have to do? Or is that something we as a council can do? And so that was just one of my questions, because it's been brought up several times. Like, how is this going to work? Because what we don't want to do is create a pathway for people to just progressively get worse in their addiction. So I see where they're coming from with that question, but I kind of wanted to present it to my fellow council members because I don't have that answer. I know what I would like to see, but I don't know what that looks like. So that was something that I did want to bring up as we're going forward with things. I know we have a lot to do today, but I had to get that out of my head. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Steve, did you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, I don't have good information on the second question, although I know that it was deliberated very intentionally in the Senate Justice Committee as part of the 755 Senate bill discussions, that issue. So it might be something that the council wants to set aside for another day, because we do have a lot of business, as you described, to do today. We're excited about. On the second part, and I see John Collins is on the phone and or on the call in case I get it wrong, but my understanding is that we at OHA have the ability to allocate up to 40% of an organization's total budget on the front end, and that's especially important for capital remodeling projects where that funding is needed up front, and then I think an equal quarterly payments beyond there. Does that sound right, John? Yeah, I've seen he has a thumbs up there.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah. All right.
And all the applicants in negotiation are being provided that information. So.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. So if I may just keep rolling through the agenda, at this point, we have to discuss some changes to the Chapter 944 rules to provide clarity and consistency with our current RFGA. And so for purposes of ease and understanding, I am going to share my screen again.
Could you say what the general topic of the rule is?
Yes, the general topic of the rule is a shift in some of the requirements from one section to their own section to provide some clarity around around services that can be a part of a burn but are not necessarily a required part of a burn. And the other piece is to provide some clarity on expungement services. So in our Chapter 944 rules at this time, expungement services were made a required part of the burn. However, the Chapter 944 rules were completed after this RFGA was written and put out to community and had already closed. And so when those expungement requirements were added to the rule, it then did not align with our current RFGA and the requirements outlined there. Jessica? I mean, oh, okay. So the proposed changes to the rules would allow for us to move forward with the current RFGA, and not to remove expungement by any means from the rules, but to set a further ahead of now date for those to become a required part of the burns. Okay, go ahead, Jessica.
Ron, did you get what you were
Right,
looking for?
I
Okay,
just wanted the general topic because I think we can move this pretty quickly.
perfect. Angela, I just wanted to check and see if you had if you're going to share the version with no comments. Otherwise, I will share.
I think that they're set up so that you're not able to read in the margins. But if you have a clean copy, I think that might be helpful. All right, thank you. Is everyone able to see the screen okay? Would you like the text any bigger? All right, perfect, thank you. All right, so if we could please scroll down to the little H. There it is. So in this section, the words "for burns funded after January 1st, 2024 have been added. That is the only change to this section. Otherwise, the details are the same: expungement services or referral to expungement services to facilitate housing, employment, and receipt of other recovery services. Ron, please go ahead.
I was just as an idea, I was thinking about that date of January 1st, which is the actual, assuming the entities are being funded at that point, as opposed to when the RFGA is open and when and then closes, and then the evaluation process that in my mind would happen as early as September of 2023. And it would be my suggestion, just as kind of a reminder to the council and all those involved, that that date be funded after the RFGA is announced, which would be September 1st of 2023. It's just a suggestion.
So I think I see what you're saying. So what this is saying is for burns funded after the 1st, meaning the burns that are established in this current.
I'm just essentially
period.
trying to incorporate the change into the change in the into the RFGA process, so that it would the date would be associated with the RFGA coming out or being reestablished in September 23. That's just a suggestion.
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing is an interest in changing this potentially slightly to include coverage for the RFGA period that would be beginning before this funding period. Is that correct?
Yeah, just so somehow that it aligns with the next RFGA process as opposed to when the funding goes out.
Okay. Maybe it could say something around for burns funded for the 23 to 25 biennium, perhaps. That might encompass what you're saying.
Right. I mean, there are other people that have their hands up that may want to comment. That's just my thought on it.
Okay, thank you. Amy, did you have a thought?
I think Karen had her hand up before I did.
Oh, okay. Karen, would you like to go ahead?
Hi there. I think it would be, I think the date in this rule is probably right, because we can't hold anybody to anything in a contract until there is a new contract that would, in my in my estimation, would begin around January 1st, because the current burns are going to be funded through the end of December of 2023, correct?
Yes.
So then what we would want to do is make sure that there is language in an RFP, assuming we do a full-blown RFP again, for these services, and we would cover that. And then the contract would have to make sure the contract covered that aspect starting January 1, 2024.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I was just trying to think through the RFGA and the funding process simultaneously. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Ron. Amy, please go ahead.
I just agree that this date should stand. I just agree with Karen. I like how she worded it, but I think this date is good because it won't be any confusion. People tend to get confused easily, so that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Any other questions on this particular recommended change to the rules? Otherwise, we can move to what was suggested to be shifted. So below the little h here, down at number 7, there it is. So up a little bit, there we go. So number 7, in performing duties under section 3 of this rule, Burns must maintain partnerships and clear referral pathways to appropriate services such as, and then we go through A through I. So this is currently in the rules located a little further up under a set of required services. And so this clarifies that it is about maintaining partnerships and clear referral pathways for these services. And expungement services, which is letter I down at the bottom, has been pulled from up above to be included in that list of requirements for maintaining referral pathways. Are there any questions about this shift in the information down a little ways? Yes, Ron.
Yeah, I think these changes are fine. My question is regarding the kind of process in terms of the, we would be making a motion to create a temporary rule. Is that what the motion would be? Or accept the changes to temporary rules? I'm just trying to make sure the language is.
Yes, so there was a rule change that was made, I believe it's been 2 weeks ago now. And those are a set of temporary rules that have been approved by you all. At this point, we have those still open. We can take these changes, add them to those temporary changes, and combine them all together for one process from moving to temporary to permanent. And so, like we did previously.
Would the motion be to add these changes to the current temporary rule changes?
I think that it could be to adopt the suggested rule changes as listed on the screen and in the documents that were sent out. If as temporary rules that, if you wish to elaborate on that, you could say are added to the other temporary changes that were made 2 weeks ago.
Henry has his hand up.
Go ahead, Henry.
I appreciate you clarifying that, Ron. And if it's all right, if I mean, I'm open to further deliberation or whatnot, but I'd like to make a motion. That's all right, to adopt these proposed rules amendments in the temporary rule. And move to make the corresponding edits in the remaining burn funding agreements, MOU, and other documents that rely on the rule.
I think at this point, we wouldn't need to make any changes to any of our documents because this would adjust the rules to match the documents.
Okay, then I would amend my motion to move to adopt the rules proposed in the rule amendment in the temporary rule.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Ron. And thank you, Karen. All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt these changes and add them to the temporary rule change from 2 weeks ago. Are there any other questions or concerns that anyone would like to voice at this time? All right. When you are ready, Walter, we can go through the vote.
Someone needs to restate the motion.
All right. So you are voting on a motion to adopt these suggested changes to the rules and add them to the temporary rule changes that have been made in the last 2 weeks. So all of them would be packaged up together.
Thank you, Angela.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Starting from the top, Amy, how do you
Yes.
vote?
Yes.
Hey, thank you. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
All right. Caroline?
Yes.
All right. Dharma? Aowen? Okay. Aowen voted yes in the chat. For the record, Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
All right. Karen?
Yes.
Okay. Keisha?
Yes.
All right. Lana? Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda?
Yes.
Okay. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole?
Yes.
All right. Onisha?
Yes.
All right. Ron?
Yes.
Okay. And Sabrina? I don't think it's here. Or Zeb? All right. That passes with 15. Turn it back to you, Angela.
Thank you, Walter. All right. So next up in our agenda, we have a conversation about a few counties where the total financial requests from the approved entities has come in underneath the allocation for the county. For this discussion, I'm going to pass it over to Steve Allen whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Angela. And I believe, Jessica, we have some slides that go with this discussion. But as a little preamble, I think you all are aware that we had well over $400 million in requests in response to the grant request, and I think 265 in that range available. And so as we began negotiating on your behalf, we just didn't imagine that we would be in a situation where county requests per your approvals would be below that which was requested. And as you've seen for lots of the county regions that you've approved already, the challenge really has been how to get down within that allocation. And so we're now facing a number of counties, I think 2 or 3 today, that fall into this category where the amount that you all approved is below the county region. And we have a proposal to make for you to consider and want to walk through that with you together. So next slide, please. So as we move through this, there's some goals and values that we want to attend to. And Jessica, does this version have the legislative language? The order isn't the same as I recall. Yep, there's a different version. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thought that got sent out, but while Jessica's looking for that, let me just recap where we're at. So The Senate Bill 755 envisioned a scenario in which all of the funds that this council has available to it would not be dispersed through the burn process. And those funds would roll into the access to care portion. And so that's a financial tool that you all have available to you that would allow you to disperse funds outside of the burns. And as you know, because of your discussions, there were many organizations that weren't funded as part of this process. So that would give you the flexibility to fund organizations or to specifically fund particular areas that weren't envisioned with this. And so that's what's in front of you for these counties that we'll begin talking about today. Other counties coming up, Clackamas, we're planning to bring forward for your consideration a week from today. Multnomah, not far behind. Clackamas is under budget, about 3 million. Multnomah under 4. And so we want to have this discussion with you. And one of the things that I want to make clear to you, because we have been faulted, and I think rightfully so, for not providing the council accurate information about how long things really can take. In other words, providing overly optimistic timeframes. So one of the things that I think it's important for the council to consider, our best estimate of how long it would take to support the council in moving out the funds that are that would be excess, which amounts to about 13.5 million in our current estimations, would probably be 6 months. And that's and folks may remember that we were able to begin getting money out the door in the previous access to care funding process quicker than that. But keep in mind, if you recall back to those days, the parameters around those access to care funds were really minimal. It was a light touch. And what we believe would be required in access to care funding at this point would be much more stringent parameters, more stringent requirements along the lines of developing a proposal similar to what we just created together. And so the development process, the putting out for proposals to reach response, setting up a subcommittee to evaluate those proposals, to put back in front of you, all of those steps would take time, and we believe would take in the range of 6 months to accomplish. And that's in an environment where this council and OHA, we think, really ought to spend some time evaluating what went well, what didn't go well in this last round as you begin to prepare for the next full round of funding that's going to come up very quickly in the big scheme of things. So we wanted to offer you some opportunities or some options to consider. One of those options to consider is to allow those $13.5 million to flow into a fund that could then be used by you for access to care funds with the caveats that I just mentioned. It would take some time to get those funds out the door. It would have the advantage of being able to fund folks who weren't funded in this cycle. Another option for you to consider, and thanks, Jessica, and I apologize for not getting the accurate one to you. If you want to flip through. Yeah, so this is this, whoop, if you want to go back a slide, please. To the second slide. One more forward. Thank you. So this is approximately 13.5 million, and you can see where it's allocated. Multnomah, Clackamas, Deschutes, Josephine, Columbia, Benton, all have funds in their calculation that would be underspent. Keep in mind that the budgets for these counties, the allocations, were built on a formula that you approved that speaks to the needs in each county. So people on Medicaid, people who are unhoused, overdose deaths, arrest rates. And so I think it's hard for us to imagine that just because Multnomah's approved funds were $4 million under, that those $4 million couldn't be spent wisely and appropriately in Multnomah County. So if it goes to access to care, we're thinking it would probably go statewide and wouldn't be necessarily focused on Multnomah or the other counties that you see here. Next slide. Here's the statute that specifies if monies remain in the fund after all of the county regions have been funded, the council shall provide, not may provide, shall provide access to care grants and funding to other agencies. So this is what would be required should these funds not be spent in the burns. What I'm identifying for you all is we're not at that point yet if the money remains. The monies could still be distributed by you in these county regions. And what we're asking for is A, is that a scenario that you'd like to consider, and B, we would need some direction or guidance from this council. And we have a recommendation for that. Next slide, please. So first and foremost, any recommendation we think needs to adhere both to the rule and to your values. And we would work to fully utilize those county regional funds. If you choose not to push those funds into access to care, we would only work with approved providers. No new providers would come to the table within the county regions. And then we would need to have a set of clear, transparent, simple guidance, and of course, supported by you all. Next slide. So these are the proposal considerations. We think that for this to work, it needs to be really clear and simple for everyone. The more complicated it gets, it just takes bandwidth we don't have. It creates confusion in these already complicated discussions that we're having with our approved providers and with you all. So the goal is to keep it as simple as possible, just because of, for all the reasons I just described. And some other areas need special attention to the negotiation process that we see that wouldn't fit into this recommendation. For instance, we're aware that harm reduction supply costs have gone up and access is difficult, but where we see addressing those issues or inflation has come up is we think that that's part of the regular negotiations. It doesn't require a special negotiation because it's simply allowing the providers an opportunity to take a fresh look at their budgets that they submitted some 6 months ago because things have changed. Next slide. And here's our proposal. It has 3 pieces. When a county region appears to be under allocation after all the service areas are funded, so all the 7 boxes need to be checked, look at first expanding housing services within that region. And the reason that we're suggesting housing, of course, is housing is very expensive and it's in scarce supply, and it's an area that has been underfunded for a long time. So we see this as, I think, a key opportunity for the council. We would reach out to the approved housing providers, those folks that you've already approved for housing, and determine whether one or more of those approved providers could increase their housing offerings. And if you recall, there's 6 different areas of housing that can be funded. In some cases, a provider could expand or an existing or expand out into another area of housing. If, and here's the next part, if a focus on housing still doesn't use all of the available funds for that county region, then we would suggest a simple process of allocating any remaining funds to each providers as a proportion of their current budget. So if provider ABC is 12% of the current budget, they would get 12% of the funds that were unallocated at that point. So that's it. Focus on housing, work with the existing approved providers, and if there's funding left over, allocate it within that county region based on each provider's proportion of the current budget. And with that, I'll take questions. Maybe leave the slides up for a moment in case there's particular questions on slides. Otherwise, we'll take them down so we can see each other. Ron, I see your hand, and then Karen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I was just gonna say,
Angela.
I really like the focus on housing. I think that's terrific. Because that was one of the things as we worked through the counties that I worked on, it seemed to be one of the things that as a priority was missing. And the second thing that I would want to add, just in general, in terms of the goals of if you can go back to the goals slide, one of our original goals was to ensure that populations that were most impacted by the war on drugs and culturally specific programs were prioritized, and I'd just like to have that kind of just pin that as one of our objectives and goals and priorities.
Thank you, Ron.
So that was really more of a comment than a question. I'm sorry.
Karen and Blue.
Yeah,
Then Keisha.
hi there. Mine is more of a comment too. I'm wondering if who's ever controlling the slides can go back to the counties that list. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm just aware of is, and I agree with the housing as well. I agree that that should be a priority. That's my opinion. It was originally one of our values when we I don't remember when, but it was well before we were doing this RFP. And the council said that one of our values was to make sure that housing was supported. And we even said by 25% of the funds we wanted dedicated to housing. So I do definitely support that. I'm noticing that none of these counties are what I would call frontier counties. There are some rural counties, Columbia, Clatsop, Josephine, and of course Deschutes, and then there's some rural areas in Benton. But I'm just kind of reflecting on the formula that we approved, that OHA put together. I do know that for the frontier counties in Eastern Oregon, many of the applicants, they actually applied for more money than was in the formula. So I guess this is a reverse thing with these counties here. I know because one of the applicants was from my company, and we wanted to deliver housing rental assistance, and we retracted our application because we didn't want to take money away from the county that somehow we were placed in, although it wasn't our region that we serve. So anyway, I'm not really saying let's change something. I'm just really calling out that some counties applied for more than what was available in that formula. And then these counties, and they're specifically some of the larger counties in our state, their applications came in under the formula. So I'm just calling that out as a person that focuses on rural and frontier Oregon. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. And Blue, you're next, followed by Keisha. I'll just note that not to pressure anyone, because this is an important decision that will have impact today, but we have 8 county regions, including Washington, Marion, and others, available for your vote today. So just wanted to help ensure that we use time wisely. Thank you. Blue.
Steve, is the disbursement of these extra funds something that we do have to vote on today, or do we just need to kind of take it all in?
Well, the challenge, Blue, is that Clackamas is coming up next week. We have all of the proposals that you see today, including 3 that were under budget. I have proposals that we think fall roughly in line with these recommendations. And so you could approve it without providing the rule. As we get into Clackamas, however, with $3 million under allocation, we just need guidance from the council to be able to solidify what that proposal is that we put in front of you, given that it's so complicated and the number is relatively large.
Okay, then I'm just going to make a couple quick comments. So one is that for folks who may have read applications, you may have seen that the Harm Reduction Clearinghouse was listed as a source of supplies for organizations, and it does not have sustainable funding, which is why I was advocating to make sure that these organizations who may have thought they didn't have to budget for supplies at all, they may in fact have to budget for some supplies. And one reason is also just that there's a nationwide naloxone shortage, and Narcan is available, but it is far more expensive than naloxone, the generic. And so I think that will definitely affect folks. And so that's a piece of the harm reduction. And I also feel as though with housing, I think that like we could easily do rental assistance and motel vouchers, which, there are places that exist that can happen without building any structures or anything like that. And I think it would be great to look at maybe counties where housing first options were not approved, to make sure, because those could both be added in as housing first and or they could be set aside for people in recovery if there wasn't other recovery housing designated in a particular county. And just to make sure that we have options for folks in as many counties as possible. So thank you. I will let Keisha go.
I kind of put some of the stuff in chat. The only concern I have is it's going to be an equal and not equitable process across the board. And in some counties, those most impacted by the war on drugs will be left behind. And also in some of the proposals, we partially funded some organizations because of concerns for whatever reason. And this would be throwing money at them anyway. So that's a couple of my concerns.
Thank you, Keisha. And Henry, I'll just respond quickly to Keisha. I think it's a really good point, and we've kicked around Keisha and others strategies to more specifically target or not target particular providers, and we just don't see a straightforward way to do all that. I will note that for those providers who are partially funded, their budgets are less than they were to begin with. So if they do receive a proportion of funds, it would be less than the full amount that they requested. Henry, to you.
Yeah, I just want to express my appreciation to the, to OHA and for putting this proposal forward, and also to council members for their deliberation. I would agree that focus on housing in Oregon for folks who are seeking recovery is really important. I know there's a strong correlation between, adequate and secure housing and success in being in achieving long-term recovery. So I would like to see the council focus on that if we can. I would also just note, being an advocate for frontier counties, that sometimes, as it gets more expensive to live in the metro, people keep getting pushed out and out. And so frontier counties are also, wanting to and needing to focus on finding these housing options. So just want to note that. Thank you so much. I do have to go to another meeting. Thanks a lot. And
thank you, Henry. Morgan?
Sorry, it took me a second to get off mute there. So it sounds like we're pretty much on the same page that what we want to do with this money is reserve it for access to care grants. It sounds like we really want to focus on housing for counties that, the counties that came in under budget on a per capita basis. That means, they got less funding from the initial burn grants. So if we just reserve this money, if we vote to set this money aside for access to care grant funding, and we know that we mostly want to focus on housing and then harm reduction, because the harm reduction clearinghouse does not have sustainable funding and is going to run out. But we don't have to deal with that now, right? We could just vote to reserve it in a pot for access to care grants.
Morgan, this is Steve. So for the council, there's no need to vote if the council chooses to allow these roughly $13.5 million to be unspent in the burns, because that's what would happen under statute. So there's no need for the council to take action. What we're requesting is the council consider to move the funds out more quickly and within the county regions is guidance that we would follow in our negotiation process that looks like this. Is focus on housing with approved providers and allocate any remaining from that to the approved providers beyond housing. But that's up to you folks. And I saw someone else with a hand that maybe took it down. So Blue, were you trying to jump in? And I see Keisha now with your hand.
So I was just trying to provide clarity for Morgan. The money wouldn't be going to access to care grants. It would just be for the counties that are listed that have reserve. The money can only be used in those counties.
I got it. Sorry, I'm on vacation. I'm in Spain and it's 12:09 at night. I'm doing my best here. I have a question. What I would like to see, so just so that we can really understand some of the impact of our decisions and the equity therein, is what the approval rate was for the counties on how the subcommittees determined approval or denial. Because if there's a huge disparity there, then us allocating the approved grantees, say in Multnomah County, just slightly more money might make sense. I don't know. I'm trying to work it. I understand now. I had misunderstood. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. But right, because access to care would be a whole nother process and delay the whole thing. I totally get it now. But I feel like we just need to get this money out. So if that means more housing in Multnomah County, please bring it on.
Thanks, Morgan. Ron?
Yeah, I was just wondering if this conversation was going to take longer than what we need today. Because I'm really anxious to get to approving the county that are in front of the council. So I understand that next week the Clackamas County may be up for discussion, but I think this needs a little more discussion. So I'd like to table this until next week and then get to the county award conversation. If everybody else is okay with that.
Thank you, Ron. That sounds great.
All right, if you would take the slide deck down, and then I think forgetting who's up first in the batting order, I think it's Crook.
I'm still here. I apologize. I'm just off camera with a bloody nose. Didn't think y'all needed to share that with me.
Hope you're okay, Angela.
I'm totally fine, just messy.
Steve, you're on mute.
Oh, Steve, you went.
Oh, sorry about that. So these should all be in a format that you're familiar with by now. We started out with the more straightforward ones, Crook being among them. So next slide, please. So as you see in Crook, all of the boxes were checked, 3 initial providers. Next slide. The overall request, though, was about $500,000 over the total allocation. Next slide. There were no concerns that were raised by the subcommittee. Next slide. And so this is how the budget was reconciled. So now it's within budget. So Ideal Options was initially an approved provider, but as they looked to explore space within Crook County, they could not find office space that was affordable. And so they vacated. And if you recall from the first slide, there was duplication in all of those categories. And so Ideal Options stepping away voluntarily did not put this county region out of compliance in terms of being able to provide all the service area. In addition, Best Care reduced their budget by 12.7%. That took place in terms of staffing and office supplies. Rimrock Trails also reduced by 10.9%, some additional savings. So between Ideal Options stepping away, Best Care making a cut, Rimrock making the cut, they were able to meet it within the allocation and still are committed to being able to provide services in all those areas. And with that, I'll take questions if there are any. Otherwise, I would be open to a motion.
Just confirming we still have quorum.
We do still have quorum. We've got 15 exactly.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal.
A second. A second.
Discussion. Hearing none, can we take the vote? Walter?
Rock and roll. All right, Amy, how do you vote? Oops.
Yes.
Thank you. Blue.
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
All right, Caroline.
Yes.
Okay. Elwin. Henry is gone. Hubert.
Yes.
Okay. Karen.
Yes.
Okay. Keisha.
Yes.
Okay. Leticia.
Yes.
Melinda.
Yes.
Okay. Morgan.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thanks, Morgan. All right. Nicole.
Yes.
Okay. Onisha.
Yes.
All right. Ron.
Yes.
Sabrina. Zev. Okay. That passes with 13. And really quick, is Aylwin here, or she's not no longer with us? Okay. All right. That passes with 13.
Thank you. Next county region, please.
Just a heads up, Walter, it looks like Eowyn is just about to come back into the room. So she will be here for the next vote.
And we were still at quorum without her. Are we confirming? While Walter's checking that, unless you're ready, Walter, I'll work on Polk.
Yes. You can go ahead, Steve. We still had quorum.
Awesome. Thank you for checking, Walter. Much appreciated. Polk County, also straightforward. Next slide. All the boxes were checked. 2 providers. Next slide, please. And are we losing quorum with Keisha departing, Walter?
Ooh, let's see. Keisha. I would need to probably take a quick roll call really quick just to make sure that we have the exact number of folks that we need. Okay. All right. So let's go. Amy.
Here.
Blue.
Here.
Carlos.
Here.
Caroline.
Here.
Aylwin. I see that she's trying to come on. Henry. Hubert.
I'm here.
Karen.
Here.
Keisha. I know she's gonna have to hop off. Are you still here, Keisha? Okay. Leticia.
Here.
Melinda.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Okay. Nicole.
I'm here.
Onisha.
Here.
Okay. Ron.
Here.
All right. Steve. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 15. Let's go.
Thank you, Walter. Appreciate that. So in Polk County, $2.5 million over budget. So that was a key negotiation point. Next slide. No concerns with the proposals. Next slide. So this is an accounting of how Polk County was able to get within allocation. So they reduced the total request by 2.7 million. They reduced the Welcome Center building purchase and remodel. They reduced 433,000 rental assistance vouchers, 85,000 in barrier removal, move-in housing assistance. They reduced staff training, travel, mobile costs. They reduced staffing for maintenance workers, treatment services, and peers. And they plan to offset some of these costs through Medicaid reimbursement and reimbursement through commercial insurance, and also leveraging community resources to offset reduction of, and I'm not getting the last line on that, through partnerships and a peer drop-in center. Thank you. And I think that's it. They were able to get within budget.
I make a motion, we
Would I-
approve
Uh-oh.
Polk County.
Yeah, Steve, sorry, guys, we do not have quorum. We did have one other person that dropped off, so we are at 14. We need one person.
So Eowyn is having a little bit of stuck in between. I am connecting with her to help her get back in. But she will be present momentarily.
So can I still make a motion to approve Polk County? Or do I need to wait?
Allison?
We won't be able to vote on the motion until there's quorum.
Okay.
Thanks, Allison. Is it possible for a motion and discussion?
Eowyn is now with us.
Great. Okay. All right. I think, Amy, we can take your motion then.
Actually, that's still, we don't have quorum. We still don't have quorum.
Okay.
Nope, we still don't have quorum. So really quick, let me just do it one more time just to make sure. Quick roll call. Amy?
I'm here.
Blue?
Here.
Carlos?
Here.
Caroline?
Here.
Eowyn? Is here. Can you put that you're here in the chat, Eowyn? Okay. Hubert?
Here.
All right. Karen?
Here.
No Keisha, no Lana. Leticia?
Here.
Melinda?
Here.
All right. Morgan?
Here.
Nicole?
I'm here.
Onisha?
Here.
Ron?
Yes.
And Steve. So we're just at 14. We're one short.
Eowyn said here in the chat. Does that help?
Nope, we're still at 14.
Yeah.
I
we're still at
am
14.
I am doing a quick reach out to see if we can rally anyone else to join.
Okay.
I texted Dr. Richardson.
Oh, you moved your calendar? Oh.
Okay, it looks like Zeb is gonna be able to hop on. in a minute.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we can get through these before folks hop off. I know it's a lot to ask. It's been a long meeting. Those are my hopes and dreams. And Zeb is joining now.
Thank you for joining us, Deb.
Yeah. Okay, we've got 15. Where to go? I'm gonna bring Zeb up to speed. Oops.
I had made a motion to approve Polk County.
Second.
All
Any
right.
discussion? And Deb, do you want a thumbnail version, or how do we bring you up to speed?
Yeah, somebody wants to give me a brief overview. That's fine.
Yeah, so Polk County had 2 providers. They were significantly over budget, but Polk County made some significant reductions, primarily in their infrastructure investment, but also in staffing, and they are cover all the bases, and they are now within budget.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. No problem, Zeb. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I think we're able to move forward with a vote.
All right. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Blue?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes.
Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. Aylwin? Okay. And for the record, Aylwin voted yes in the chat. Hubert?
Yes.
Okay. Karen?
Yes.
Okay. Keisha. Lana. Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda?
Yes.
All right. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole?
Yes.
All right. Onisha?
Yes.
Okay. Ron?
Yes.
All right. Sabu. And that pass. Oh, Zeb.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. There you go. All right. That passes with 14. Back to you, Jess or Angela.
Thanks, Zeb, for coming back in, and thanks, everyone. We still have 4 to go, and the ones coming up are a little bit more complicated. I can provide the overviews very quickly. We're very confident in all 4. I'm really hoping that members can stay on so that we can get all of these passed. All right, Umatilla, next slide, please. So in the initial request, we had 2 providers that you all approved. We had a missing piece in supported employment. Next slide. We initially miscalculated a $1.2 million under allocation. That was incorrect. We resolved it last week when we discovered that mistake. It ends up being a $388,000 under budget. Next slide. So there were concerns about providing low barrier all-inclusive housing. Eastern Oregon Alcohol Foundation addressed all those. You see them in the slide that they are open to include based on culture, race, sexuality, and including low barriering for folks who continue to use drugs or alcohol. the services by Eastern Oregon Center for Living, mobile outreach, telehealth, transition, emergency, low barrier housing, harm reduction. So you'll see all those services that they're providing. Next slide. To fill that gap, we created a burn by adding CCS. If you recall, CCS, Community Counseling Solutions, is an approved provider in other county regions. They have a presence, so their current community mental health program there, and so they were willing and able to provide the missing piece, the supported housing piece, and all organizations are now on board and working together. Next slide. And so you see in the final slide that all bases are now covered, and they're just modestly under budget. I think $644 left over after investing in those employment services. So happy to take questions. If no questions, I would entertain a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this county.
I'll second.
Any
Who
discussion?
seconded that?
Amy.
Gotcha.
Amy did.
Any discussion?
Just for the sake of clarity, this is for Umatilla County.
Oh, do I need to like amend the motion to approve Umatilla County? There, is that better?
Thank you, Blue.
I still second.
All right,
Karen has-
Karen, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was hoping we can I see the slide again with the template or the matrix about the providers and what they're gonna deliver?
Yep, we can pull that back up, Karen.
Can you all see?
I see the
Yeah.
title page.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was showing you the right thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so CCS is gonna do supported employment. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
You're welcome. Other questions or discussion? All right, Walter?
Okay. All right, Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Blue?
Yes.
All right, Carlos?
Yes.
Oops. All right. Aowen?
In the
Okay.
chat, Eowyn says yes.
Okay, thank you. Hubert?
Yes.
All right, Karen?
Oops, yes.
All right. Leticia?
Yes.
All right. Melinda?
Yes.
All right. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha?
Sorry, you guys. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Ron?
Yes.
All right. And Zeb?
Yes.
All right.
And
Yep.
Sabrina is now present as well.
Do we want to?
Let's just keep going.
Can I bow out if Sabrina is coming in? Because I do have a client that's blowing me up in urgent crisis.
Just for sake of clarity, that was 14. Are we allowing Sabrina to vote, or we are letting her abstain, or should we rephrase that for her?
So Walter, you never called my name. This is Caroline.
Caroline, how do you vote?
Yes.
Got you. Thank you. All right.
Sabrina
So-
abstained.
Okay, thank you. All right, that motion passes with 14, and I'll turn it back to you, Angela.
Walter, this is Steve. Onisha has a question. With Sabrina here, would we still have quorum if she leaves?
Yes.
I have to leave as well. So I'm sorry, folks.
I'm so sorry, you guys.
It may be necessary to schedule an additional meeting now that we're seeing more and more.
How many more counties do we have to go?
3.
3?
We really need to get these approved.
Let's
know.
do 'em.
I'm so sorry, y'all. I do have to get to another meeting. I planned on leading the entire meeting today, but I can't stay any later.
I think there's some of us who have to be at another meeting. So I know we didn't make a commitment to this Measure 110. I know we have other
Yeah,
meetings.
let's.
Well,
Okay.
mine isn't a meeting. I do direct services, and I have a client who is blowing me up because they're in crisis, and I'm scheduled to be in this meeting until 3:30.
Is the council open to having a follow-up meeting? Probably an hour would do it on Friday, an emergency meeting to continue.
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Friday afternoon?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. We will schedule it.
I'm not available.
Nope, nor am I,
Let's see.
unless we do it at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm not available.
Works for us.
8 o'clock in the morning doesn't work for me. Can we send
Well,
it
let's,
out in the
yeah.
afternoon and see if some of the other people who are not here are available? Because you only need 14 people.
Yeah, Angelo, maybe you and Jessica work on getting it scheduled and then let us know.
Yes, absolutely.
Or maybe
We
we can
will-
come back to this meeting in like 30 minutes or something.
Nope.
Let's just shoot for Friday and have the staff work on making it happen.
Okay.
We will aim for Friday. We will gather the best times for all of you and we'll set up a meeting that will work for the majority of folks. Thank you all so much for staying late. Appreciate
Bye.
your